Welcome, everyone, to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, Unstoppable Health, a 7-week journey to outsmart your genes to feel younger, live stronger, and avoid long-term illness. I'm Lisa Bonnice, and I'm really looking forward to hosting this hour-long Q&A call for the Shift Network, where we'll explore the teachings of Dr. Ritamarie Loscalzo and address questions about her upcoming 7-week course, Unstoppable Health, which begins Tuesday, July 31st. Later, I'll explain how you can participate in this course even if you can't attend the live sessions. That's not a problem, but first, I want to introduce our guest. Dr. Ritamarie Loscalzo is the founder of the Institute of Nutritional Endocrinology and is passionately committed to transforming exhausted high achievers all over the globe into high-energy people who love their lives and live to their full potential. As a doctor of chiropractic with certifications in acupuncture, nutrition, herbal medicine, and heart math, she's also a certified living food chef, instructor, and coach, and has trained and certified hundreds of others in the art of living foods. A best-selling author, speaker, and internationally recognized nutrition and hormone health authority, Dr. Ritamarie combines the ancient healing of whole, fresh foods and herbs with modern scientific research to inspire people everywhere to recharge their energy and reclaim their lives. In just a few minutes, we're going to open up for your questions, but first, I want to welcome Dr. Ritamarie, who will begin our call by leading us in an opening meditation. Welcome, Dr. Ritamarie. It is such a delight to be with you this afternoon.
Well, hello, Lisa. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me and for hosting this. And I'm looking forward to sharing with everybody out there, answering questions and helping you to just really access your inner potential for healing. So before we do that, I want to guide you in a little meditation. It's something I've learned through a technique called heart math, where I'm certified as an instructor. And I absolutely love it because it's something that you can take a break to do throughout your day. It's not a long meditation. I'm not going to really get into, getting you into specific places. I'm going to help you to use and access your own inner knowing and of places that cause you great joy. So we're going to start by focusing attention on your heart. You can put your right hand over your heart. We're going to focus attention on your breathing. The other hand goes on your belly if you choose. And I want you to just take a long, slow, deep belly breaths so that when you raise up your belly, you increase the size of your belly, you're increasing the lungs. So you're getting all this air up into your lungs and new oxygen to nourish your system. So take a long, slow, deep breath, expand your belly, hold that breath in, and then let it go. When you get to the place where you think you've exhaled it all, push a little bit more out. Wait a few seconds before you take another breath. On that exhale, you're letting go of stress. You're putting your body into a part of the autonomic nervous system called parasympathetic. And that's where everything good happens, healing and digestion and rest and relaxation. So you want to linger there a little bit. So make the exhale just a little longer than the inhale. So take another couple of breaths. Let's do it together. And on the exhale, let your shoulders drop, your neck soften. And just feel the tension draining out of your head and neck and shoulders and out through your feet. And on the next breath in, breathe in a memory, a visualization of a place where you really feel good, a place where you love to go, the real place, but you're just going to imagine it in your mind. Mine is the beach. Go down to the water's edge and I can feel the warmth of the sun, the warmth of the sand on my feet, the water as it touches my body and as I enter it. I can hear the sounds of the waves, the sounds of the seagulls, maybe some children playing and laughing. I can smell the salt air. I can taste the salt on my tongue as the water splashes into my face. What is it that you feel good with? Where do you like to go? Where would you like to go right now to just feel good for just a few minutes? You can do that in your mind. So go to your favorite place, whether it be rocking in the rocking chair with your favorite pet or child or grandchild, baby on your lap. Maybe it's the beach, like my place. Maybe it's the mountains, or the lake. Wherever it is that you can go and allow the tension to drain from your body. Let's go there now, together. So let's take a couple more long, slow, deep breaths. And know that as you exhale, you're letting go of tension, you're shifting your body into healing mode, and you're just generally giving yourself a gift. And then add to that a feeling of appreciation for your ability to access those memories, for those experiences that generated those memories in the first place, and for your inner knowing, your inner healer. When you do that breathing, you access the inner healer that knows how to heal your cuts and mend your broken bones and heal your fatigue and your thyroid stress and your hot flashes. It's just we need to get out of its way. And that's what our upcoming course and this Q&A is about, is helping you to get out of your own way. So, and then come back into the room, but bring the feeling with you. I get an all over body tingling when I do that. What's that feeling? Tune in to what the feeling is that you're bringing back. It might be even just slightly different than where you were when you started. And welcome to our call tonight.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ritamarie. All right. So we have the rest of our time together to dive into our viewers' questions for Dr. Ritamarie Loscalzo as we prepare for her upcoming course. Again, that's called Unstoppable Health, and it begins Tuesday, July 31st. And if you want to check out the website, follow along, learn more about this 7-week course, you can visit unstoppablehealthcourse.com to see the full description. So let's go ahead and get started with questions. If you have a question for Dr. Ritamarie, you can go ahead and type them in, and I'll be happy to read them aloud. And let's go ahead and get started. Before I ask any questions, though, I want to let everybody know that Dr. Ritamarie can't offer medical advice, but we're going to go ahead and ask questions anyway, because a lot of people really do want to know about their specific situations and what she might suggest. So just so you know, she's not diagnosing anyone here. So with that said, our first question is from Lynn, who said, would your course be helpful for healing uterine fibroids? She says post-menopausal and symptomatic. I live a very clean, green life. I've already used many different natural approaches, including botanicals, enzymes, and topical oils, in addition to daily yoga, meditation, and eating an organic, plant-based diet. Infinite love and gratitude for who you are and what you do. I love your energy and your philosophy.
Wow. Thank you for that question. And that's a tough question to answer because like Lisa said, I can't answer, I don't know enough about you to know what you missed, right? So it's like you're doing the diet. Maybe it's not exactly the right diet for you. Maybe you're having blood sugar swings. Uterine fibroids are usually related to progesterone and estrogen imbalances. So what is it in your lifestyle that could be causing that? So it's hard to say, particularly for any one person, is this going to help? Will this provide some valuable insights and tools? It's just possible that there's something that you missed. And so that's the only advice I can give you is we're going to be going through some gene things, some genetic things. You may find that you have you get some insights as to what particular tests, lab tests you might be able to run that may not have been run already to find the imbalances. Because I believe that every disease condition is a cause of it, caused by imbalances in the body. And so we don't address the disease condition or the symptom, we address it with the appropriate restoring balance. So it sounds like you've already got a great start to what you're doing, the plant-based nutrition and the yoga and the exercise meditation. I mean, you're doing a lot of it. Will there be a few more insights? Probably that you might give you a different direction to go down, but I can't say for certain.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to a question here from Lori, who says, I'm having a very hard time with menopause. What foods should I avoid and which should I add to my diet?
That's a great question. And we'll go through a lot more of that. It's going to depend on you. But here's the thing, some of the things that can create problems in terms of the imbalances that cause the hormones to just be fluctuating all the time and causing hot flashes. First of all, sugar and processed foods. And I know that like may be cliche to say because everybody knows that, but not necessarily doing it. So one of the things we're going to talk about in the program is testing your blood sugar levels to see if the foods you're eating are keeping you in a steady state. If your blood sugar levels are up and down and all over the place, that's going to create problems with your hormones. And if you're under a lot of stress, there may be some certain things in that certain foods that are stressing you because your body isn't able to digest them well. So all that said, some of the general ideas that you want to stay away from, certainly the sugar, certainly the processed foods and the flour, foods that are high in sugar. So even if they're high in natural sugar may help you to reduce. Anything that's made and heated in plastic because of the phytoestrogens, the xenoestrogens in there that interfere with your own estrogens. Other things to avoid: caffeine. Caffeine tends to stress the same pathways in the liver that are used for the metabolism of estrogen. Can be affected by caffeine. So caffeine's certainly one, and alcohol. I mean, some of the real basics. Other foods that you may want to include more of, for sure, cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables are high in sulforaphane, which helps support those liver pathways to help you to be able to eliminate the buildup of the estrogens, because estrogen during menopause goes down, but it fluctuates a lot. And so I think anything that provides you with nutrients that help the body in its metabolism of the estrogen. Things that are stressful, I mean, this is not a food necessarily, but really managing your stress, because most people end up with symptoms in menopause when they've been under stress for a long time, and the adrenals steal away some of the precursor molecules that the body needs to make the estrogens and progesterones. So those are some of the foods that I would recommend. Lots and lots of green leafy vegetables. Like, be a green girl.
Okay, fascinating. Thank you. I get a question here from Julie, who says, what are your thoughts on CBD oil?
Well, it depends on for what, but CBD oil has a lot of good research in helping with neurotransmitter support, to helping to calm the brain down and helping people to sleep. It helps to balance the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, which are two branches of the autonomic nervous system. One is the fight-flight, the sympathetic, and one is the rest and digest, which is the parasympathetic. And CBD has been shown to balance those two so that you don't get off onto this, this frenetic kind of energy of fight-flight. It's been used in cancer treatment. Of course, we can't say that it can cure cancer, but it can certainly help balance the immune system. And there's a lot of studies on it. So I'm all for anything that's natural, that's safe, and that can help to balance the body, because that's what it's all about.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Let's go to a question here from Jill that says, are there any ways to slow or stop cell aging, as in keeping your telomeres from shrinking their length?
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of research on plant-based whole foods, so green leafy vegetables, foods that are rich in antioxidants, the rainbow vegetables. In particular, there are some supplements that have been put together. One in particular that I can think of that's like $300 a month for a month's supply that has been shown to do it, but it's an extract of astragalus root. So I think there's some basic herbs that you can supply, astragalus root being one of them. Quercetin is another one that's had some studies in helping to lengthen telomeres. I did a blog post probably 3 or 4 years ago If you visit my blog, drritamarie.com/blog, and look for telomeres, you'll be able to find an article that I wrote that talked about some of those herbs and nutrients. So antioxidant-rich foods, the very brightly colored and the green leafies, have a lot of good support in keeping your omega-3s balanced. So not too much omega-6, which most people in our country anyway have too much of, because we're doing a lot of vegetable oil and meats and dairy and all that has the omega-6 in it, and we really need to focus on omega-3, which we'll talk about in much more detail in the course. But flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, sea vegetables, especially algae, and then of course fish, deep ocean, carefully harvested, and all that.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. We've got a few people here on Facebook asking the same question. They're wondering what can they do to get a good night's sleep?
Oh, sleep, that elusive stuff that so many people are deficient in, right? People ask me, what nutrient are people most deficient in? And I would say sleep. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So I would start with basic sleep hygiene. The basic sleep hygiene includes stop food intake within 3 hours of bedtime, because food in your stomach is going to prevent you from falling asleep or staying asleep, because the body's focused on digestion and not on the hormone balance that has to happen during sleep to get you off to sleep, and the neurotransmitter balance. And foods during the day that are overstimulating, that cause imbalances. So sugar, for example, sugar is going to cause your body to secrete too much insulin, and you're going to have this insulin yo-yo all day long. Your body needs a surge of growth hormone right before bed. It needs a surge of melatonin. So those sorts of things. I can get into some herbs, and they're going to vary from person to person. But before we do that, back to the sleep hygiene. Don't eat within 3 hours of bed. Turn off electronics within 2 hours of going to bed if you're having trouble. If you're not having trouble, you might be able to get away with 1 hour. But if you're having trouble falling or staying asleep, turn off the electronics, and that means the cell phone, the iPad, the TV. The other thing is, about an hour before you go to bed, take a lukewarm bath. Not a super hot one, because it can be stimulating, and certainly not a cold one, but somewhere in the middle, and putting some herbs in there, or essential oils like lavender, chamomile, lemon balm, things like that can help to calm you down. Another thing that can be very helpful is this heart mat that I just took you through, doing that right before you go to bed, and thinking calm thoughts, right? Okay, what is it that I'm stressed about? Take a notebook, have it by your bed, and anything you've got on your mind, write it down. Some of the things that keep us awake sometimes is that we're very much into, I have to make sure I remember to that. And suddenly you lay down and go to bed, and all of a sudden all this stuff comes to your mind, and it's hard to fall back to sleep or fall asleep. So write it down, keep a notebook, and that way you say, okay, it's there, and I can do this in the morning. Going to bed with the intention, setting positive intentions before you go to bed. And that may seem like, oh, well, what's all that about? It's very, very valuable to set the intention that I'm going to have deep sleep, because a lot of times the sleep is interfered with by worry. The other things are, lights. Okay. So we typically in nature would live outdoors, and when the sun goes down, there's no lights, and we're in the darkness or semi-darkness, maybe fire or candlelight. But in our life, we have these bright lights, and the bright lights get into the eyes and stimulate the pineal gland to say, hey, it's still daylight. It's still bright light, and the melatonin production doesn't happen. So super important to have good levels of melatonin. And then, of course, making sure you're eating a whole foods diet, plant-based preferably, mostly plants, with lots of antioxidant-rich foods to support the body in making the hormones and the neurochemicals that we need to fall asleep. So that's just a little bit on sleep. There are a lot of other herbs. I mentioned a few. And it just depends on what's the underlying reason. So I kind of went all over the map because I don't know your underlying reasons for not sleeping.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's go to a question here from Francine, who says, I've gone to numerous allopathic and holistic physicians for the hot flashes that have taken over my life for many years with no success. Mm-hmm. I've read online where some women say they have them even into their 90s, and I can't imagine how awful that might be. Have you ever come across someone who cannot find relief from hot flashes? I'm afraid I might be one of them.
Well, I don't know what exactly you've done again, right? So I don't know where the holes are. So whenever I'm working with someone, I do a very thorough history, ask lots of questions, and I want to find out all the things that they've been doing. What I find is a lot of quote unquote holistic doctors are looking at, here, take these herbs, take black cohosh, take, dong quai, take these herbs. They may be giving you specific nutrients, but without really looking at what's going on. I do a test. We'll talk about testing during our upcoming course, more detailed. I love this Dutch test, which helps us to see what the balances are between the nutrients and the foods. There may be some genetic tendencies that your body doesn't break down estrogen as well as it should, and you've got a lot of metabolites of estrogen competing with the estrogen receptors. So, you're getting these hot flashes. Personally, I've never seen anybody that couldn't get rid of their hot flashes, and certainly not seen people in their 80s and 90s that still had hot flashes. Because when we're looking at the complete diet and personalizing the diet for them, not just giving them a diet that's in the hot flash reversal book, but really helping people to see how to personalize the diet for their specific needs and the lifestyle more than just the diet. It's a lot of that stuff.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's go to a question here from Bernadette, who says, what do you think of the sweeteners like stevia and xylitol?
Okay, I have different opinions about the two of those sweeteners. So stevia is a plant that grows in my garden, actually. I don't have it right now, but I've had it in the past. It's a green leaf that looks like mint. And when you take stevia, those leaves, and you put them into a smoothie or a dessert or whatever else, you're going to have this really nice sweet taste, but without the downside of the sugar where it raises the sugar up and down. So stevia is just a green plant. Now, stevia in the white powdered form, I'm suspicious about. How did they get it into white powder form? They're actually extracting out one of the constituents that makes the sweet feeling on the tongue. My preference would be the whole leaf stevia. You're growing the plant just like you would mint, or a green powder, so the dehydrated green powder. The other thing that I often use is something called sweet leaf stevia, and it's in drops. And basically the way they create that, it's less processed in the white, but not as pure as the whole green. And it's basically they cook it up, until it forms kind of like a liquid extract, and then they pull that out and put it in a bottle, and it's got a nice sweetness. Xylitol, on the other hand, xylitol could be from genetically modified corn. In fact, if it doesn't say that it's from birch, it is definitely from genetically modified corn. So be careful about xylitol. Xylitol is a sugar alcohol, and it's not fully metabolized by your body. So it doesn't have that caloric density of sugar. It has a taste like sugar, but it causes GI distress in a lot of folks. So go very carefully. A favorite of mine in the sugar alcohol family would be erythritol. Very rarely do people get GI upset. When people take xylitol, especially if you're using it a lot, they can tend to have aggravation of an irritable bowel. It can feed the bugs that live in the gut that are not so desirable. So I'm not a huge fan of xylitol, although chewing a xylitol gum after eating has been found by dentists to help prevent dental caries. I'm not a big fan of eating much in the way of xylitol. Sometimes I'll get a xylitol sweetened something and have it, but I don't do it on a regular basis. But stevia, I would do on a regular basis.
Okay, great. Thank you. I had that question myself, so thank you for that. Shelley wants to know, do you have any suggestions that would help with cluster headaches, not migraines, but cluster headaches?
Again, that's a medical type question that I would not be able to answer without a thorough history. So there's no this for that in true functional medicine and in true holistic medicine, because what we're looking at is what's the cause of your cluster headaches. And your cluster headaches may have a different cause than someone else's cluster headaches. So is the irritation to the nerves in your head related to a particular food that you're eating, a particular chemical that you're breathing, a particular stress that you're having? So really don't have a this for that kind of approach. I'd be looking at all your food intake. I'd looking at making sure your blood sugar is balanced. I'd look at your gut to make sure that your gut microbiome is balanced. And be looking at your neurotransmitters, your nervous system, asking you questions about exposures, asking you questions about traumas, and working with that. I had somebody who had cluster headaches and couldn't figure it out, tried everything, put her on a detox program, and her headaches and a whole bunch of other symptoms went away. So we don't always have an answer for exactly like why this particular thing got better as a result of the particular intervention that we did, but it's all about balance. So it's all about helping you to figure out what's causing it, like doing a very deep and thorough investigation of your history, traumas, your current environment, your current stressors, your sleep level, your food intake, food allergies, etc. Lots of things going on there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I've got an anonymous question here. It says, if we sign up for the class, will we be able to ask you questions about our individual health issues?
Well, about our individual health issues, depending on the number of people in the class, it's really hard to do that. I can't give medical advice to anybody unless I've sat down with them and done a thorough history. Can you ask, say, hey, I just tried this XYZ that we talked about last week, and I got a gut pain from doing that, or something like that. Why do you think that could be? So I can answer questions like that, certainly during it, but I can't have you come in and say, well, I've had this disease and that disease and another, and then I have these lab tests that show this, that, and the other thing. What should I do? Those are not, because that's medical advice. Can't do that. Okay. When I'm going to do a program that offers medical advice, it's not even really medical advice, but offers me digging into your health needs or your health history. That's more of an extended program where I get much more one-on-one and not, with a lot of people in a program, and not at the investment level. This is very, very affordable for the masses. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And if you're just joining us, we're here with Dr. Ritamarie Loscalzo, learning about her upcoming course, Unstoppable Health, which begins Tuesday, July 31st. And you can log on to unstoppablehealthcourse.com for all the details and to register. So let's go ahead and get back to questions here. We've got a question from D. Terrell. Hello there. The question is, in your opinion, what creates heart coherence, and will you be covering that in your course? And then she goes on to say, how much does this contribute to Unstoppable Health? Secondly, you are beautiful and bright like the sun. My favorite place is the beach, too. Third, where are you located, and do you treat people who are not local?
Great. This is great. So, number one, I'm in Austin, Texas. Thank you for the kind remarks. And the beach is like this amazing place where I just feel blissed out. I love the question about heart coherence because, yes, we will be covering that a lot. I'm going to be talking about a technique which I introduced you to at the beginning of this, to take you into that coherent state. So we'll be talking a lot about it, and it has a lot to do with a lot of your health issues. The Institute of Heart Math has been studying this for years. I've been certified through them for about the last 10 years, and it's pretty incredible the kinds of changes you can see. So I'll sit down with somebody, I'll take their blood pressure, and I look at them and say, oh, you've got high blood pressure. Let's just see if we can do this process and see how much we can get it down. And I have seen people's blood pressure go down as much as 40 or 50 points by doing a heart math. And over time, yeah, it'll come back up as soon as they go back into their old mode. But if over and over and over again, they do this technique to get themselves into coherence 5 times a day. And that's short and sweet, a minute or two. 5 times a day, right? That's like 5 to 10 minutes. Makes a huge difference. It changes hormones, it changes immune system function, it changes neurochemicals, which affect the brain and the mood. It affects gut microbiome. It affects so much. That coherent state is something we all should be striving to be in. And you can get there as quick as a breath. And I've practiced it over the years, and I can feel the tension drop out of my body. You may take 3 or 4 breaths to get there. When you're first learning, it may take a little longer, but it's one of those things that we're retraining your neural pathways. And finally, you asked about do I only work with people locally? I actually don't work with anybody locally anymore. I just work with people long distance. I've got a thriving online practice, and we take people in. And I'd be happy to share that as we get into the course, how you can get access. And if you go to my website, drritamarie.com, you can find out more about how we do that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. You remembered all 3 of the questions. Well done.
Short-term memory's intact. Yes, because I just did heart math.
Let's go to a question here from Beth, who says, what do you think of hormone replacement therapy?
Oh, well, I think that hormone replacement therapy can be an amazing thing for someone who needs hormone replacement therapy. So when I look at imbalances in hormones, I think about, and when you say hormone replacement, you are generally talking about the estrogen, progesterone stuff at menopause, I'm assuming, because most of these questions seem to be in that age range, lifespan range. So hormone replacement therapy is absolutely mandatory if you've had your ovaries removed before the age of 50, before you went through menopause, because you're taking away these glands that no longer make these hormones that your body needs. So replacing is mandatory. And bioidentical is the way to go versus synthetic or versus pregnant mare urine and that kind of thing. If you've got symptoms, serious symptoms of imbalance, and my approach is usually to go with food, lifestyle, stress management, herbs, and then bioidentical hormones. But if you've got serious debilitating hot flashes, and we want to get you out of that because doing the lifestyle changes is too impossible with the way you're feeling, I would have someone get a test. I like the Dutch test. Look at what the imbalances are. Find a good doctor that knows how to do bioidentical hormones and get you on some bioidentical hormones. But that's not where the picture ends. See, for conventional allopathic medicine and even some functional medicine docs, that's where it ends. I think that's where it begins. I call that the Band-Aid. That's the Band-Aid. What we want to get to is, why are you having all these symptoms? It's not natural to have symptoms at menopause. I never had a single hot flash. And it wasn't like early in my day, I didn't have disrupted hormones. I did before I changed my diet and lifestyle. I had horrific periods. I was doubled over in pain. I would go 30 days and then 60 days and then 20 days. It was horrible. But once I got my diet and my lifestyle and my stress levels balanced, I no longer had problems. I went through menopause like a breeze. It was like, oh, I don't have periods anymore. Oh, another month of no periods. Oh, another month of no periods. Didn't have the irritability, the crankiness, the hot flashes, or the night sweats. That's what I want for everyone. That's what everybody can have. And it's not like I'm good genetics. It's not like it's, I was healthy and balanced my whole life. It's from the changes that I made. Family members, they had hot flashes, sisters, mothers, those kind of people. It's not like it's genetic that I didn't have hot flashes. It's because I started to get imbalanced when I was in my 30s. Right around 30 is when I really changed my diet dramatically, maybe 29. And it made all the difference in the world. So we want to find out, what's the cause. Here's the thing with hot flashes. People want, okay, what do I do with hot flashes? Well, yeah, they're looking for an herb or a nutrient that's going to affect the reproductive hormones. But in reality, we have to look at, why is that out of balance? Well, maybe their reproductive hormones are out of balance because their thyroid's out of balance. And so we look at that. Well, why would the thyroid get out of balance? Well, it could be an adrenal problem. Too much adrenal stress causes the body not to be able to convert the inactive to active form of thyroid, and not to be able to have the receptors on the cells listen to the signal. Well, why does the thyroid get out of balance? Adrenals can. Why do the adrenals get out of balance? Well, the adrenals get out of balance when we have too much stress in our lives and we're just constantly pounding the pavement of, tigers are chasing me 24/7. So the adrenals can be out of balance, but also the adrenal imbalance. Like if you're constantly under stress, you're using the building blocks that supply those sex hormones. And so we can't just look at balancing the sex hormones without balancing the root cause, because it's not going to work long term. And then what about digestion and blood sugar? If the blood sugar is up and down all over the place, that creates a huge stress on the adrenals, which can affect the sex hormones. And in the digestion, if you're not absorbing all the nutrients and you're absorbing toxins into your system and you have a leaky gut and you create food allergies, you have a microbiome that's out of balance that disrupts your brain, gut-brain chemistry access and affects the hormones in the body, we've got a problem. So we have to address things in a hierarchical order, and we'll be going through that in the program. What is that order, and how do you determine if you need it? And I'm going to give you an assessment that everybody's going to get to do, and we're going to talk about how to interpret that assessment and determine where your root cause might actually be. So those are important pieces for addressing those hot flashes. Right? So a lot of different things go into it.
Wow, it sounds so much more complicated than I ever imagined.
And that's why so many people are running around with hot flashes, because nobody's really addressing it at this level. Nobody's going into the very granular details. It's not so complicated that you can't figure it out and that you can't learn it and that you can't get the testing you need. We're going to teach you about the testing that you need, and you're going to be able to find places that you can get it done, even if your doctor says, oh, you don't need that.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much. Let's go to a question here from Heather, who says, my husband is on a new kick about pH levels and how the acid eats away your body. What's the best way to level them out?
We will be going through that for 7 weeks. So acid imbalance, so alkaline acid imbalance, right? It's what he's talking about, the pH scale. You can measure your urine, you can measure your saliva, and you can see where you fall. If your body is creating a lot of acidic residue, yes, it's eating away at your tissue. Cancer cells grow in an acidic environment, but they don't grow in an alkaline environment. So the best way to balance it is diet, right? There's a chart that we're going to give you in the program that is the acid foods, acid forming foods, and the alkaline forming foods. And guess what? It's not just how it tastes going in, because you can be eating an alkaline food, a food that seems alkaline, but it's very acid. You can be eating a food that seems very acidic, like apple cider vinegar, like lemons. They're very acidic going in, but they create an alkaline residue. So you need to learn what foods to eat and how to restore that balance, how to test for that balance. And then you need to look at your stress levels, because stress levels raise the pH, lower the pH, raise the acidity. So when you're under a lot of stress, it causes a lot of acidic residue and byproducts. Certain prescription medications, certain toxic chemicals that you find in your air fresheners and in your cleaning products can all create a more acidic residue in the body.
Wow, okay, thank you. Well, just so you know, I've already signed up for the course, so I'm looking forward to it.
For you.
Well, I'm looking at the clock here, and we have time for a few more questions, but before we take those, I want to give a few details about the course itself. Again, it's called Unstoppable Health, and this is going to be a really fascinating 7-week journey under Dr. Ritamarie's expert guidance, where you'll discover how to avoid hereditary health conditions, dementia, and age-related illness by outsmarting your genes and rebalancing your endocrine system, the master controller of your health, with the right foods and lifestyle for your body. And the 7-week course takes place on Tuesdays at noon Pacific, starting Tuesday, July 31st. And if for any reason you can't join us live, that's fine. You will not miss the teachings. You'll receive audio and video recordings, transcripts, and all course handouts on your course homepage. Also, I'd like to remind you that we offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on all of our courses, giving a full 2 weeks until August 14th in this case, to make sure you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect in a private Facebook community group so you can stay connected with one another. Also, everyone who registers receives the Unstoppable Health Bonus Collection. First, you'll receive an audio dialogue with Dr. Ritamarie, hosted by Robin Benson, another Shift Network favorite, entitled The Little Explored Link Between Insulin Resistance and Autoimmune Disease. Next, you'll get a PDF guide from Dr. Ritamarie called Hormone Hacking Breakfast Menus. Then you'll receive an ebook from Dr. Ritamarie entitled Deliciously Quick Lunch and Dinner Ideas, Energizing Whole Food Meals for Busy People on the Run. And when you register by midnight Pacific on Wednesday, July 25th, you'll receive this additional bonus gift, and that is an audio dialogue with Dr. Ritamarie, again hosted by Robin Benson, entitled The Relationship Between Food and Hormones. So before we get going again, Dr. Ritamarie, let me ask you, what are you most looking forward to sharing in your upcoming course?
Oh, wow. I would say I really love the food pieces. I really love talking about food, because personalizing the food, because so many people have tried different diets, healthy diets or so-called healthy diets that aren't healthy for them. So I want to talk about some of those different diets and how you can personalize it for you. But I think really one of the biggies too is that so many people know what to do, or think they know what to do, or are told what to do, and can't actually follow through. So we're going to hit on some of those emotional underpinnings there, and helping you to get in touch with what's your big why. Because when you're in touch with your big why, you're much more likely to be able to actually follow through.
Boy, did you just hit the nail on the head for me anyway. That sounds perfect. Thank you so much. Let's get back into questions here. Let's see. Let's take one from, I lost it here. Sorry, I was scrolling. This is from Annette, who said, I had food allergy testing done, and it came back that I was allergic to a lot of different things, but when I showed it to my physician, he said the test wasn't accurate because of the company I tested through. How can I tell a reputable company from a dishonest one?
All right. So I don't know I don't know which companies are reputable and which companies are dishonest. So I'm going to tell you this. My feeling about food allergy testing is that it's not all that accurate no matter who you do it with. Because what happens is, the reason you end up with food allergies is because you have a condition called hyperpermeability of the gut, aka leaky gut. And what happens is, if you're not chewing your food real well, you're not making enough digestive enzymes, which happens to everybody, this food that's going down lower into the intestine is some intact proteins. They're not like these fully digested amino acids and fatty acids and vitamins and minerals. You have larger molecules, which typically, if the gut is intact, if the membrane is intact, going to go right on through and out your poop. Which means, on the one hand, if you're not chewing or digestion, you're going to lose a lot of your nutrition. But on the other hand, if you do have this irritable gut, and the gut gets inflamed from so many things, gluten is a prime suspect in creating leaky gut. The researchers who do the most work in the gluten issue find that everybody gets a temporary leaky gut from eating gluten. What does that mean? It temporarily damages the lining of the gut, which is there's these little villi, microvilli, and there's little spaces in between. They call them the gap junctions. And they're small enough holes there to only allow fully digested proteins, which are amino acids or fatty acids, vitamins and minerals through. They're not supposed to be allowing larger particles through. But the gluten temporarily causes these to get inflamed and open up. So larger molecules can slip on through, which gets into your bloodstream, which then the immune system sees and mounts an attack, which we call an allergy, because it thinks it's something dangerous. It doesn't know whether it's broccoli protein or streptococcus protein. It's going, foreign protein in the blood, I'm going to attack it. When you have a leaky gut, like everything you're eating on a regular basis is probably going to show up on the test. So if you have the test and more than 3 or 4 or 5 foods show up, it's likely that you have a leaky gut. If you were to go back and do the same test a week later with a quote unquote reputable company, then you'd have a different test. And then if you went back a week later and did it with that same company, you'd have a different result if you changed what you were eating in between. So I'm not a big fan of doing those tests unless I've really hit the wall and I use it as a guideline, and maybe there's one food left that we're missing that we didn't eliminate. I usually do things called elimination diets and the elimination provocation method. That's where I start. But what I'm going to tell you, if you've got this test result back, use it as an indicator that you probably have a leaky gut, and look into using protocols and foods that heal your gut and supplements and herbs that can heal that gut as well. And you can do some searches, or you can join a program with a reputable person to help them take you through it.
Okay, great. Thank you. We got a question that came in while you were talking. This is from Linda, who says, can you talk more about gluten sensitivity? My husband is skeptical, but I believe I am sensitive to gluten.
Yeah, so a lot of people are skeptical, and there's a lot of evidence and research out there. People say, oh, it's just a fad. So here's the thing. If you have any health symptoms at all, try it. It doesn't hurt to try it. Go off of it, or get a test done to see if you're sensitive. Not a celiac test, though, because a celiac test will only be positive if you've already got damage to the gut mucosa and it's caused what's called a villus atrophy. Most people aren't at that stage, and most people have symptoms of gluten intolerance years and decades even before that blunting of the gut mucosa happens. There have been studies as far back as the 1930s that I dug out that found that neurologic symptoms come about as a result of gluten sensitivity. The 30s, right? This was long before the internet and long before all this information about gluten intolerance came out. Neurologic symptoms like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia. So I would say you owe it to yourself to just try it. If your husband's skeptical, he's skeptical. So what you do is you get off of it for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. See how you feel. And if you notice a difference, interesting, you can add it back if you want to, or you could just say, look, I went without this and I feel so much better. In my practice, I've had 25 years with patients and another 5 with my own health exploration. So 30 years of experience. I have very rarely seen anyone who has all kinds of health symptoms who did not test positive for antibodies to gluten. Now, here's the thing though, you can't test them in the blood because the antibodies will go away if you've been away from it. So if you've been off gluten for a while and you're like, could I get back on it? Do a stool test. There's a company called Intero Labs that has a stool test. You'll be able to see it there. The tests that are in the blood, they tell you go back and eat gluten again. And I'm like, do you really want to do that? Let's just test you in a different way. Personally, I've never been tested, but my body has tested it, right? I go off of it, I'm great, and a tiny little pinch gets back in, I get symptoms again. There are genetic tendencies to gluten intolerance. They've been identified in the medical literature. And we're going to talk about some of those things in our class. I'll lay out the different foods that you may be sensitive to based on genetics.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're covering a lot of ground here. Let's go to a question here from Shelley, who says, what's the best way to detox? What kind of foods are best?
There's a lot of ways to detox, right? And it depends on you. So the foods that are going to be best for detox are the foods that are the easiest for you to digest and that support your liver detoxification pathways. I'm going to keep harping on them. The green leafy vegetables, the cruciferous vegetables. There's some herbs like dill and caraway and lemon peel that have limonene, which is a very potent chemical to help support liver detox. Your B vitamins, especially your methylated B12s and folate, very important for that. Sulfur-rich foods, garlic and onion, if you tolerate them. If you don't, fine. But sulfur-rich foods can help support a pathway in the liver called sulfation. But really, the biggest thing for doing a detox is to reduce the toxic load. Reduce the toxic load. What does that mean? Well, we're going to look at all the foods that could potentially be damaging, foods you might be allergic to. I usually have people go on an elimination diet. I have them remove the top allergens, the top 6, gluten, dairy, corn, soy, eggs, and peanuts. And anything else you've eaten in the past and had a reaction to. You're going to get off of caffeine and alcohol and drink lots of pure water and keep your environment clean. Incorporate sweating, whether that be walking, whether that be saunas, skin brushing. All of those things play in to getting rid of toxins. So there's 2 phases. One is decrease the amount of toxins going in and then increase the ability of your body to handle them. One of my favorite ways to cleanse is with green smoothies. make a green smoothie and just drink green smoothies all day for as many days as you can tolerate, or just have green smoothies plus a little bit of salad or steamed vegetables, but keeping the level of food down. When we start to eat those heavy, fatty foods, or reducing fat considerably during a detox is important because the liver gets to rest that. If you're constantly working your liver to try to digest your fat intake, it's not going to be detoxing as well. So greens, lots of greens. Green juices is a great way to do it as well.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. We've got an anonymous question here that says, can panic attacks be caused by food reactions, or are they more a mental thing? In other words, what causes panic attacks?
Great question. So there's, as usual, it depends. My favorite answer to lots of questions is depends, because it depends on you. The panic attacks tend to come about as a result of too many of the excitatory neurotransmitters and not enough of the calming neurotransmitters. So we go into this fear panic mode. Some of that is going to be programmed from early exposures, from traumas, from limiting beliefs that were passed on in our family members. And we get into these situations where we're living in the past, we're worried about negative things happening, and we go into this panic mode. It could be a deficiency of GABA. It could be an excess of glutamate, so eating foods that are high in glutamate or glutamic acid. You could have a genetic predisposition where you have certain genetic pathways that could be impaired, that your body's not making enough of the calming neurotransmitters. And we'll talk more about some of those particular, what's called SNPs. And it would take me too long to get into that as an answer to just one question, but we're going to talk about that in the class. So neurotransmitter imbalances are the chemicals that affect it. Is that programmed? Yes. A lot of times it's a mental emotional state, but what controls that mental emotional state? Well, there's a very strong connection between the gut and the brain. So it could be a microbiome imbalance that can contribute to panic attacks. So again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I don't believe in taking a this for that approach to health. A lot of times we've grown up with it, right? You have a headache, you take a Tylenol. You have sneezing, you're going to take an antihistamine, right? We've grown up with that. You've got stomach pains, you're going to take an antacid or something. And that's not the way the body really works. That's the way pharmaceutical intervention with the body works. A lot of folks come from that orientation and find out, well, all those drugs might be bad for me. They may be stressing my liver, and I don't want to take them. I want a natural approach. So what's the natural approach? And they come to me asking for this, for that approach. Well, what's the herb I can take for panic attacks? Or what's the food I can eat for panic attacks? In reality, it's about restoring balance. You may have panic attacks for a very different reason than somebody like, Mary or Fred or some other person has. Very different reasons. My goal in this course is to help you to really get in touch with you and to really understand what's going on inside of you and make decisions based on how your body is reacting. So yes, panic attacks can definitely be mediated with food and lifestyle. It just depends on the underlying cause. I'm a big fan of getting to the root cause, and I want to teach you how to do that.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to a question from Daniel, who says, what do you think of powdered greens to add to smoothies? Great. So powdered greens can be a great addition to smoothies. I'm a big fan of real food, but the powdered greens you add, number one, can fortify the real food. So if I make a big green smoothie and I add a big scoop of spirulina or chlorella or other greens, it's just fortifying it. It's adding more nutrition to that already very nutritious drink. So I like them. I use them mostly when I travel. At home, I just eat so many green leafies that are real that I don't bother. I probably could fortify my stuff with it, but I just don't think it necessary. But when I travel, I carry my big bag of greens, and I do it every morning because I'm not able to get the same level of nutritious food when I travel. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Thank you. Portable greens. Let's take a question here for Mina, who says, in your course, will you talk about protocols for healing leaky gut?
We will definitely talk about leaky gut and how to identify if you have leaky gut. And we'll talk about some food approaches and some nutrition approaches. Absolutely. I can't remember if that's, let's see. I think it's module 3. No, is it 4? Yeah, module 4 is optimizing your digestion and detox. So in module 4, we'll go into that. Absolutely. And protocols is a word that I'm not a big fan of, because protocol implies it's the same for everybody. What I'm going to be teaching you to do is to evaluate your gut and see where the breakdown's happening and what imbalances are leading to it, so that you can choose from amongst some of the herbs and foods and spices and things like that we talk about.
Okay, great. Let's do one last question here. We're just about out of time. This is from Janice, who says, I'm sensitive, allergic to starch, white grains, white potatoes, etc., but not gluten. I get extremely tired quickly after and feel stuffy sinuses and generally sick. This is from my own observation and diet elimination. Have you heard of this?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'd ask, how do you know you're not sensitive to gluten? Right? Because the gluten is found in starchy grains. So I don't know how you can distinguish that. But I would say, yes, I do. And sometimes it's not the gluten in those foods, it's the starch itself. And you have a carbohydrate intolerance where your body's not able to break those down fully. And it could be that it's raising your blood sugar tremendously. And then you're getting crashes. So blood sugar goes up, the insulin goes up, and then you have a crash where your blood sugar goes very low. There's a lot of reasons that could go into it. But yes, I have definitely heard of that.
Okay, terrific. Wow. Well, this has certainly been a fascinating, fast-paced hour. I want to thank our viewers for being with us today and for all of your questions. Unstoppable Health starts Tuesday, July 31st. And again, you can visit unstoppablehealthcourse.com to learn more and to register. So before I cut you loose, Dr. Ritamarie, do you have any final words for our viewers?
Yes, I do. So the words that I'd like to impart on you are: trust your body. Your inner healer lives in there. It was born with you. It got kind of confused when mom started feeding you teething biscuits with sugar and white flour at 5 months old, or fed you chocolate cake for your first birthday, or started to give you the commercial foods, which have no nutritional value. They just have financial value for those who sell them. So we got thwarted early on. You may have had a stressful environment, a stressful birth, a stressful life. You may be living in a place where they were spraying, all kinds of air deodorizers or using toxic stuff. I know that was my life growing up. And my body fell apart with that when I was in my 20s. And I was very fortunate. I always say that my body fell apart when I was in my 20s because I was able to look for solutions. Doctors just said, here, take this medication, take this ulcer medication, take this sinus medication. Let's shoot up your nose with steroids. And it was horrible. I was 25 years old. And I learned that my body needed certain things, and there were certain things I was doing that was interfering with the healing potential of my body. And once I started putting those things into place, my health changed. I got my health back. And that's when I got passionate about leaving my career in the computer industry and moving over and helping people with their own health. So I would say, trust your body. The inner healer is there, but it's gotten confused. It's maybe not gotten the right nutrients that you need over time, gotten too much of certain toxic chemicals, depleted the liver from exposures or also from some genetics, and we'll talk about the genetics. We're going to talk about outsmarting your genetics, and what that means is that you don't have to get the diseases that your genes may say you're predisposed to. About 5% is the genes and about 95% is the epigenetic modification of those genes. And that's what I want to empower you to do, is to think about your body differently. We had a lot of questions that were this for that kind of questions, because that's the thinking we've all grown up with. What do I take for this? What do I take for that? Oh, I want an alternative. So what do I take for this? What do I take for that? I'm always asking the question, why? Why do you have that symptom? And why, until we get to the root cause. And that's what I want to teach you about, is to empower you to be able to ask the right questions of your own body and to apply therapeutic approaches, but lifestyle approaches as well, not just like take this for that. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. I can't wait to meet you all and really help empower you to take charge of your own health.
All right. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ritamarie Loscalzo. It's been fascinating talking with you today.
Thank you for having me. I have had a grand time. I love answering questions, and I know we're going to look forward to a lot more of that when we start our course next week.
Exactly. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. On behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well and look forward to having you on this course or perhaps another one in the future. Have a great night, everyone.